What's going on, everybody? We have a great conscious finance tonight. We're going to be talking about, will AI take your job? And if it does, what does that mean for you? Does that mean you're completely out? Are we done? Are we finished as the human species? Or are we headed towards an age of enlightenment, an age where we all are pharaohs? We're going to talk about all that and more tonight on Conscious Finance. My name is Gav Sario. If you guys don't know me, I'm the host of Conscious Finance. I've been here with 4BK for almost, I think, 4 years now, coming up on 4 years, and been talking to you all about all things finance, the history of finance, and trending things. What can we look towards? How can we better our lives using investing and all of that? So let's jump into this right now. But before we do me a favor, hit that like button so we get more people. This is a topic that interests you. Hit that like button so we get more people coming so that they can learn. Hey, look, we're headed in this direction, whether we like it or not. What are the things that we need to be thinking about? What are the things that we need to stop? What are the things that we need to let run? These are all the things that I think are so important that are not really being talked about. AI, we're too busy watching Will Smith eat spaghetti, how realistic it looks versus like, hey, what are the things that we really need to be talking about? We really need to be against. We really need to be for. And the only way we're going to do that is by getting the word out. So again, smash that like button, and that brings more people. The algorithm will bring more people. So today we're going to talk about the future of wealth in a post-labor world. All right. Now, post-labor is a really, really interesting concept, and it's unfathomable for the majority of us out there. Okay. We all are so tied to our jobs and businesses. Some of you are employees, others you're business owners, and probably 80% of our days, unless you're stay-at-home mom, which unfortunately there's less of those these days, but 80% of y'all are working, and you're working hard. And you cannot escape that digital cell, that cell phone, that laptop. Some of you work from home. Some of you are connected to your work and jobs all day long. And so there's this now intertwinedness between our jobs and our lives. Right. And so to think, oh my gosh, what am I going to do if I don't have to work? How am I going to make money? These are all the things that we're talking about when we talk about the post-labor world or post-labor economics. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's being discussed right now, a lot of theories, a lot of possible solutions that are being floated around. But before we get into it, I do want to do this. I got Dwayne, one of our analysts here at our company, the ARC. He's going to be watching out for any good questions, and I'll be answering them at the end. All right. So let's do that. Oh, look, OMG Yola. I'm a stay-at-home mom looking for work for the past 3 years. I'm about to start doing online stuff. That's great. That's great. And by the way, that doesn't mean like if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're just like, it's not a good thing. I think it's a fantastic thing. You are raising the future of tomorrow. All right. And I'm sorry, I just got to say this. Like, my wife, she's an amazing mother. She's a stay-at-home mother. And, we probably wouldn't be able to do it in the US. We don't live in the US. We live in Central America. And here's the thing though. She's got this like level of patience and love and nurturing that the man doesn't have. It's not built into my DNA. And so I think that's a great thing. Zenja, yeah, AI is taking over so fast. It is. There's nothing we can do. Well, there's certain things we can do. But listen, leave questions. Dwayne's going to be finding the best questions, and then he's going to come on and we're going to talk about those questions at the end, okay? Because this is a very serious topic. This is a very, very hot topic. This is not something that is going away. Like Xenia said, it's taking over. Some people think it's taking over faster than we can keep up with it. And if that's the case, honestly, there's not much we can do about it now. Cat's kind of out of the bag unless we shut the internet off, which I highly doubt is going to be happening. But when machines become better, faster, cheaper, and safer, labor ends. All right. And this is something that has been weighing on my mind, right? I remember the first time I got on ChatGPT, it was probably around this time in 2023, this time of the year, around October, November of 2023. And I remember this guy's like, man, you've never seen ChatGPT? And I'm like, what is this? So he goes, look at this. You can tell it to make a rhyme. You can tell it to make a chorus of a song. And I was like, no way. There's no way that it can do that. It's like, that's what humans do. And so he gets on and I started fooling around with it. And, the first prompts that I ever did were just juvenile compared to what I do now, right? I use AI so frequently. And I was sitting there going like, this changes everything. And I started thinking, I'm like, man, this thing just snuck up on us so quickly. Like, and I started thinking even back then, what happens when machines become better, faster, cheaper, and safer? And I'm like, all the jobs, for the most part, go away. And I was like, holy crap, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And so I've been wrestling with this, but I've also been studying a lot of like the AI safety guys out there who they don't paint the rosiest picture, all right? But they also do give some solutions to keep us safe. And then there's other people out there that are giving us solutions as to what we do. What is our purpose? Remember, like, so much of our purpose is tied to our jobs, all right? And so on the flip side, this isn't the first time we'd be replaced for some of the things that we've done, right? And we can see, we started off with training nature, essentially, right? Horses could get us from point A to point B so much faster, right? And so instead of us walking, this was a newfound, back then, technology, right? We were able to walk way further, go across vast distances, and it was fantastic, right? And then we had machines come out, right? We had the steam engine come out. We've had multiple different things in between then, like where we didn't have to go and gather from nature. Like literally we could form crops where we lived and we didn't have to go very far, and we just picked them right there. And it was real simple, even though it's probably not so simple for us because we're not used to it. We're just used to going to the grocery store and we just pick everything up there. But back then, you simplified everything, right? And then we had, the car come out, and the horses went right out the door, and cars got us from point A to point B. And we had computers come out, and that helped us communicate a lot faster and crunch data much faster and exponentially, have technological things that we just never thought we could do. Then the internet came out, and it connected all of us, and we were able to share the information way faster. Even me, and I've talked about this in Conscious Finance before, even me, I've done things where before in the past, like in 2009, I was able to cut my staff in half because of paperless filings. I used to run and manage law firms. And so I was able to cut my staff in half and I was able to double the revenue in the law firm that I was managing. And so like we keep getting more and more and more efficient. And this isn't the first time that we've had a great replacement like this. All right. This is not the first time that we've done this. And so what is post-labor economics? Well, it's the economic model that replaces wage-based labor with automation and ownership. And y'all got to be paying attention right now. All right. Y'all got to be paying attention right now, because this is definitely one of the most important things that you're probably going to hear all year long. All right. Because a lot of people aren't thinking about this. And a lot of people, in my opinion, will be left behind, but they're not going to be left to die. And I'll tell you why. All right. Now we have the 4 pillars right now that are under stress are consumers. Y'all are feeling it. We talked about it last week, right? Where everybody's like, yeah, man, inflation's got its fangs into me right now. I'm feeling the heat. I've got to use my credit card to just stay afloat a little bit every month, you know, and it's getting harder and harder. Things are going up. My grocery bill has doubled in the last 4 years, right? All these things. Businesses too, right? Businesses have these dilemma where they've got to make money to stay in business, right? So they're looking for ways to like automate using AI, but then again, like they've had people working with them for so long. Coincidentally, our business, we've for the most part been able to automate as much as we can, but we still are hiring people. I see a lot of people like having these commercials out there where they're like, well, you know, I'm not hiring anybody else. I'm done hiring. And I'm like, that's not happening in real life. What's happening is like, I'm not an expert in marketing, or I'm not an expert in technology, or I'm not an expert in this. Can AI explain it to me pretty easy? Yeah, you bet. But am I going to like be able to learn that? No, but somebody who's known this stuff can use AI to do their job faster and quicker. And I'm going to show you how this weaves in to post-labor economics. Unfortunately or fortunately, we're starting to see governments crack. All right. We're seeing it all across the world. Everybody is done with the BS from the governments. I know I am. That's why I moved out of the United States. I'm like, I don't care if it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump. I don't care if it's Republican or Republican. I am done. This is stupid. Like, it's just, you've got one end of the other spectrum, but you know, like we always say here, it's 2 wings, 1 bird, right? Left wing, right wing, 1 bird. So honestly, at the end of the day, these governments, I think with the level of transparency that we now have and the speed that we get information, we're like, yeah, we don't trust you what you guys are doing right now. It's not working. Same thing for banks. I came on here a couple weeks ago and we talked about stable coins, right? The banks are horrified about stable coins because you no longer need a bank. You can become your own bank now. And that's not some cheesy tagline or slogan. Like literally, I'm going to show you guys a little bit about how that works tonight. But I'm telling you right now, the banks are horrified of technology like blockchain, like crypto, like decentralized finance. All right. So we see that these 4 pillars, including yourselves, right, are feeling the stress right now. All right. You're feeling the stress. Now, here's the paradox of automation that I had. All right. A few years ago, I remember I was out for a run. I live in Panama, and I was running outside. It was nice and hot. This is the city of endless summer. And I just had, you know, I was running with a buddy, and he's like, you know, these big people are poisoning us. They're poisoning us. And I'm like, I just kind of thought about it. I'm like, why are they poisoning us? Don't they need us as consumers? You know what I mean? And I started like looking around at like all the jobs. There was like people, you know, selling bottled water on the street and little fried foods on the street and the guy selling fruit on the street and all this stuff. And I'm like, I went down this rabbit hole, like mentally, and I'm like, oh my gosh, well, they're just going to be replaced by robots, right? But at in robots, let's say I pay for the robot or I lease the robot for $300 a month. That's way less than somebody, having somebody do all this work. And there's no workers' comp claim. There's no payroll tax. It's just I pay for the robot and that's it. But, and I said, oh my gosh. But then I was like, well, hold on. But if the elites want to do that, right, they still need consumers unless these robots are just like there to cater for them. And there's only a few, million of them living on the earth. I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. So because we still think of things like in terms of business, in terms of growth, in terms of all these things. And so, but here's the paradox is businesses want 0 employees because employees are liabilities, right? But infinite customers, right? And this is where I like really started to think. I'm like, oh man, like if we do away with all the jobs, who's going to buy stuff, right? And what are we going to do? And how does that even benefit the rich? It doesn't. It didn't make sense in my mind, right? And so I started thinking better. And it's real easy in the human mind to go negative, by the way. So, and that doesn't mean that bad things don't and will happen. It just means the more I think about that, the more I'm going to attract it, right? There's a show on Apple TV called Black Matter. I would highly, highly recommend watching it because it's all about that. It's all about manifesting what you think. It's really well done. It's really good. All right. And it's all about multiple realities, but we're creating this reality together, guys and gals. And so by us thinking that Skynet is going to blow us all up. All right. Well, if enough of us think it might happen in this simulation, which is what I think this is. Billy's, for those of you that have read Billy's holographic book, he talks all about that. Like I'm pretty convinced this is all a simulation, right? And we can destroy the simulation if we all consciously do it. But I do think this, all right? I do think that we enjoy these lives that we're in. I really do. And I think that we are the masters of these lives. But we got to be clear. We got to be thinking differently. And it's even the way that we're putting the information into AI is developing AI in a certain way, right? So, but nonetheless, we're still in a post-labor economic environment. We're still going to need customers. Our businesses are still going to need customers. Now, the domino effect that a lot of people stress out about is, you have job loss, you have wage loss, people can't spend, demand, and then you have a collapse, right, of society. Will that happen? I don't know. I don't think so. I hope not. Have societies collapsed before in the past? Yeah, we've talked about it here on this show. All right, we've seen societies collapse. All right, the Romans, the Byzantines, multiple different societies. I covered a few different, the French societies that collapsed with the French Revolution and the colonial revolutions in over there in the Caribbean. All right, there's all sorts of collapses that have happened. Okay, so we're at a crossroads right now, either collapse or coordination. All right, and I choose coordination. Now, we have something called economic agency, and whether you know it or not, okay, economic agency is something that you basically participate in every single day. All right, now let me explain to you what economic agency is as it pertains to a post-labor context. Okay, so As AI, robots, and algorithms take over production, people lose the traditional labor to income connection. The question becomes, how can individuals still influence or participate in the economy if machines do the work? All right. Now, economic agency might then shift to ownership and capital access. So who owns the AI, data, energy, or networks that create value? We have governance rights, okay? And for those of you that are in crypto, you know about this, but let me explain for those of you who aren't. So who can vote, propose, or decide how automated systems allocate resources? So we have what are called decentralized autonomous organization voting, community tokens, public AI oversight. All right. So we're the ones that are determining what AI does, how we use AI, okay, over time. Right now, that's not the case, but I could definitely see that here in the future. And we've got to evolve towards that. Now, creative and social participation. So contributing ideas, culture, or meaning that guide how automation serves human goals. All right. And I've talked about this before with Billy on here. You know, so many people, they're like, oh my gosh, AI is going to take our jobs. Oh my gosh, it's going to be the end of the world. And I'm sitting here and it's like, so many of us, we talk about these things like passive income. Why? Why do you talk about, why are so many people enthralled by passive income? It's one of the keywords on my own personal YouTube channel, which, by the way, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. We're going to throw the link in the chat. I talk about all things crypto and DeFi and investing over there, the new way of investing. But why are so many people enthralled in passive income? Because they don't want to work so much. Everybody in the world would rather, like, instead of just grinding because you got to make a paycheck, you got to keep up with the Joneses, all this stuff, they'd rather just be cool. Man, I have enough. These are some of the things that we teach you over there. All right. Which is, what is your enough number? What is your financial independence, retire early number? Right. But what if we could do that with everyone now? Right. And again, Billy and I have talked about this multiple different times where it's like, I mean, if you don't have to work and you could only focus on culture, sport, health, your family, really enjoying time, is that a bad thing? Right? What would purpose change? Yeah, it would change drastically. But can we? Of course. We've evolved and we've done different things. Like, come on, think about like somebody who was way back in the year 1000 and you zoomed them here to today. They would be like, oh my gosh, everybody is abundant during this time. Everybody has food for the most part. Everybody has a toilet. Everybody has a roof over their head. You know, they're not too hot. They're not too cold. They're in a perfect environment all day long. Come on. We're heading more and more towards that, right? So you have to see things differently now. You have to subscribe, or we get to subscribe to a new way of thinking, to a new way of being. This is the human spirit. This is the cool thing, all right, about who we are and what we do. So, let's talk about this. Now, why this matters, okay? If humans lose economic agency, there is society risk, extreme concentration of wealth and power in whoever controls the automation. This is a big deal, all right? These are the things that we should be worried about. But what if we redefine agency through ownership, models, decentralized governance, and digital participation? Then post-labor economics could enable mass prosperity and freedom, not dependence, all right? And I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I went through and I talked to you all about collapses, all right? But then the booms that happened after that, all right? Most people, like after, let's say, World War II, oh my gosh, people were like, remember, the years leading up to World War II were insane. We had like a 90% crash in the stock market in 1929 and 1930. 90% crash. Like, I'm reading a book where I can't say that word here. There was people who unalived themselves, all right, during that time at a rate that we've never seen because they lost massive fortunes. And then it evened out, though, that huge crash evened out the scales. All right. So the potential for the scales to be evened out right now are really, really high. And I'm going to show you some of the things that even we're doing right now that are evening out the scales. All right. And it's pretty amazing. But, you know, we've got this stuff like labor, property, and voting. These are the three pillars of the current agency. All right. These are the three pillars of the current agency. And I think that they'll still remain in the coming years, except there is one part that is going to flip-flop. And you can see here, all right, you can see here that right now we've got 60% in wages, 20% in property. This is how the demand is changing. And then 20% in transfers, meaning like, you know, your father or mother are no longer around, they die, and they pass along inheritance to you. And in the future, instead of 60% wages, it's most likely going to be 60% property and 20% wages. Now, you may be sitting there like, well, what am I going to be? How am I going to be earning any wages? All right. We're starting to see that flip happen right now. All right. We're starting to see that flip happen right now. How many people do you see now getting on Instagram talking about products that work for them, talking about, you know, products that have helped them health-wise or efficiency-wise or breaking this down or that down? How many people have been opening up unique experiences for us, right? There's a lot different of a world that's going on. We're thinking differently now. You see a lot of more people getting onto things like Upwork, right? A lot more people getting onto ride sharing, right? So in my opinion, all right, what's happening right now, we're like at the beginning stages of this flip from wages to property. Okay, the old economy is it's heavy with wages. The new economy is going to be heavy with property, and then we'll still have wages. We'll still probably be doing something for money. All right, but this is where we're headed. All right, in my humble opinion, and on the research that I've done and the people who are doing this. Let's see here. Let me throw this back on here. So property is going to be the new labor. All right, property is going to be the new labor. Now, let me explain to you a situation, something I'm literally physically in this new labor. I'm right now, as I sit, I'm in a tokenized real estate on the blockchain property where a whole bunch of us invested into this property, and it pays a yield. Like what we pay for rent for being here pays to the people who own this property, and we distribute that money on the blockchain. Okay. And it's, you know, it's not Bitcoin face melting yields or a meme coin yield or XRP yields. Okay. But it's a decent yield. All right. We're talking about, you know, 6, 7, 8% per year. I don't know how much it is exactly. All right. And that's how we make money in this new economy. You're going to be able to take your money and invest it in somebody's home, a fraction on the blockchain. And then that money gets distributed, gets paid on the blockchain, and then gets distributed to your wallet or your bank on the blockchain. This is the new economy. This is the new labor. Also having things like Bitcoin, but knowing how to use your Bitcoin. See, a lot of people just sit there and that Bitcoin collects dust. No way. Put that Bitcoin to use. All right. You want to live off a little bit of that Bitcoin. You don't have to sell it, but you can borrow against it on the blockchain where you have custody of the contract that you're borrowing against, and nobody can steal that from you. Okay. And so there's all these unique new ways, and the technology is getting better and better. Guys, I've been in blockchain and crypto since 2017. It's worlds different from back then. I don't know if any of you have been in since then or maybe even earlier. All right. It's unrecognizable. I don't even think I would know how to use the things from before, just even in 2020, to be quite honest with you, because it's gotten so much easier and evolved, and it's only evolving faster. In fact, there's studies that have shown that the blockchain and cryptocurrencies are ahead of the internet in terms of its adoption curve by, like, I don't know how much, but it's astronomical. It's astronomical. All right. The amount of people using crypto over the first, 15 years that we've been doing this for, all right, is much faster than the amount of people that were using the internet in the same timeline. I need to find out exactly what that is. Maybe somebody can fact check me and put it up there. All right. So, now, how does wealth get built without jobs? All right. How does wealth get built without jobs? All right. This is something that, like, somebody, even like this, I'm looking at Joel's comment here. If you have no skills besides time, you're screwed in the future. They only need so many Walmart greeters. No, they don't even need that, Joel, because they can hire a robot to do that. But let me ask you a question. What the heck do you think that we were doing even before all of this massive production of jobs and innovation and all this stuff, when we were basically just hunting and gathering? We weren't hunting and gathering and like running all day long. No, the majority of the time, probably maybe 10% of your time was that. The other time, what were you doing? You were chilling with your people. All right. You got to start thinking differently. You got to start thinking differently, guys and gals. All right. You got to start thinking differently, because at the end of the day, again, if you keep thinking in a negative light, bad things will happen. If you think in the positive light, better things will happen. Like, I can think of 100 things to do with my time. Spending time with my family, sport, spending time on my health, doing arbitrary things around my house that I would really enjoy doing. I mean, there's tons of things that you could do. It's just, again, your identity is so tied to your job, and it's time to start thinking differently. So again, how does wealth get built without jobs? All right. Well, there's this new path to ownership, and we're going to talk to this. Okay. We've got trust. We have tokenized assets like the one that I'm sitting in right now. We have what are called decentralized autonomous co-ops, which we'll talk about here, cashback equity, and wealth funds. All right. Now, let's go over all of these one by one. So first of all, let's talk about trust and sovereign wealth funds. See, a lot of people, and especially in the United States, which probably a majority of you are all tapping in from the US. If you're not from the US, type in the chat. I want to see who isn't from the US. But if you are from the US, let me know what state. All right. But check this out. So right now we have these trust and sovereign wealth funds. So you can see here, this is the chart of the historical payouts of Alaska's permanent fund, where they take their oil profits, because a lot of profits come from Alaska, and they pay it out to their citizens. All right, their state citizens. And, you know, you can see how it started off here and it's gone up and down and up and down and up and down. It's spiked here during COVID, but for the most part, it looks like it's trending somewhat up to kind of flat. All right. It's trending somewhat up to kind of flat, which I don't know why it hasn't gone parabolic. Who knows? But you can see all of these right here are actually countries who have sovereign wealth funds, all right? And they have been basically paying out in one way or another to their citizens to enhance their lifestyle. So this is not like a new concept that just is starting up now, guys and gals. These concepts are going on around the world, all right? And if you take a look at some of these countries, all right? Norway, Alaska, we just talked about, right? Dubai, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Faroe Islands, and I think it's missing one, but a lot of people in these countries are deemed to be some of the happiest people in the world. All right. Now, do they have different type of societies than you? Yeah. All right. If you haven't visited these countries, you can't really say much because the US dumps so much propaganda against traveling outside the US. It's ridiculous. But I'll tell you this. I've been to a lot of these countries. All right. I take that back. I've only been to 2. All right. And I've heard from a lot of friends from a lot of these other countries. They're really cool countries. Like, well, the first one is Dubai. Okay. Dubai is, I mean, you can leave your keys on top of your Ferrari. You can leave. I literally had a friend who left his laptop at 2:00 in the morning on a bench, and he came back the next day because he forgot it there and he picked it up. All right. And so these are countries where, yeah, it's different than your country, right? You may not have free speech, which I'm not sure even if the US does really have free speech. It has like, let's push them to this way or push them to that way. But if they say something we don't like, you know, depending on who's in power, they'll silence you. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing that right now. We saw it during 2020 and 2021, right? So, but nonetheless, the people live there. Some of them live tax-free. Some of them have their health completely covered. Some of them have their education completely covered. Some of them have all of it. Singapore is a great example. People are so happy in Singapore. They're so healthy. It's one of the places where the longest living people are living. They've actually come up. They've started to form their national health around blue zones. All right. Like, they've done away with trash and litter. Like, it's so clean. You can eat off the floor. I mean, come on. And their politicians get paid really well so that they stop stealing, unlike the politicians in the US and Central South America, like, or around the world for that matter, even Africa and all that. But they get paid so much. But the penalty for them betraying that is like, you don't want to do it. You're going to jail for a very, very long time. And like, the threshold is like this skinny for you to pass that line, right? But these are countries that are like, hey, we're making money. Let's give this back to our people. Let's make this a better place. All right. So these are just some examples of how this is happening right now. Now, tokenized ownership. I just talked to you guys here about this property being tokenized. We're planning on tokenizing hopefully a few more properties next year and the following year. And we just have to find the right properties. We want to make sure that they're good yield bearing properties, right? And it's not like you buy a crypto and you just dump it, right? Tokenized, you will be able to do that with your tokenized real estate, but it's got to really produce real yield. All right. And so, and it's got to be a lasting yield. You can't just buy something on swampland, and you need to make sure that it's good property, that you can build on it, that it can rent, all that stuff, right? So you have to be very selective. But nonetheless, all of us in the near future are going to be able to invest in all of our homes, and we're going to get a piece of that passive income. All right. We're going to get a piece of that passive income. And even these big, huge conglomerates like BlackRock and all this stuff, they're going to be creating the vehicles so that you can do that investing. They're not dumb. They're already doing it. All right. Right now, BlackRock has its own blockchain built on the Ethereum network. We've talked about it here. All right. And they've tokenized bonds. You can actually buy bonds on the blockchain right now. It's pretty darn cool. All right. But we can tokenize ownership of anything. I've shown you all here, I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago, about tokenized stocks. You can buy stocks on the blockchain right now, on the Ethereum and on the Solana blockchain right now. You can buy tokenized stocks in Kraken, and I think Coinbase is working on it right now. Robinhood is building an entire tokenized stock exchange right now on their blockchain that's built on top of the Ethereum blockchain. So we've got like all this stuff that's going on where the bricks are being laid for this brand new world. It's already happening, guys and gals. That 60% is on its way. Now, we also have digital co-ops. And a lot of you are probably already doing this in your communities. Let me know if you're doing it in the chat. But a lot of us have community gardens, right? A lot of us have are tapping into like solar and distributing that energy to each other in there. There's a lot of really cool things that communities are doing where in the future you're going to be able to own, because those things will also be tokenized. All right. And so these are things that we can share resources. We've done it before in the past, and now we have the tools to make it even more efficient. All right. Now we have the tools to make it even more efficient. And just like for those of you who are old enough, I'm in my mid 40s right now. All right. If you would have asked me in 1999 that anybody could spin up a broadcast on the internet, which we didn't even know what the internet was back then in the 1990s until the late 1990s, right? Or mid 1990s, I should say. And if you would have said, oh yeah, you're going to be able to spin that up, I would have been like, BS, no way. The only thing you can do is chat on the internet. That's it. Okay, you can download a picture, but it takes way too long. This thing's way too slow. Nobody understood where we would be at today, how commerce would be going on today, how we'd be buying and selling on the internet. And hindsight's 2020. Yeah, by the time maybe 2010 came around or 2015, you're like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, this is going on here, right? 20 years later. But nobody knew this is where it would be. We could download an entire movie. Now we've got AI making movies. Who knows where we'll be in the near future? But somehow, some way, we always figure it out, right? Now, these are some ongoing things that even we have that could be considered digital co-ops, right? So these are like two algorithms on the blockchain that we have where people just deposit money, and these algorithms trade Bitcoin. This one right here, this one just started, but with this one, we have a long back test where we tested this. It does on average since 2023, it's done on average 10% per month. Doesn't mean that it's going to do 10% per month going forward, all right? But this is a community of people so far, 25 investors that have invested in this, that are basically sharing this algorithm to make more money on Bitcoin using Bitcoin's momentum. This one too, right? This one has 139 people deposited into it, and this is all on the blockchain, all right? This is managed on the blockchain, but you own the assets, right? It's transparent. You can see every trade going on. Here's some of our strategies. You know, this one has 117 depositors into it. This one's earning about 6.15%, and this one's been going for what, 8 months now or 7 months? I don't know. And this one's doing 7.06%, and there's almost 200 depositors in this one. And this one's been going for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months. Okay. So these are ways that now we can deposit into these decentralized ways to make money in a transparent way where you don't give up your custody of your money, which has always been a problem. And at any point in time, you want to pull it out. You got to move it here. You got to move it there. There's no issues, but this is a way where you're going to be able to make money in the future, but you're already doing it. We're already doing it right now with part of our group. All right. Now, your bank is your new employer. All right. Some of the things that we teach, we show people how to borrow and lend against their money. Like a lot of our students now, they have a bank account only for the things that they can't actually pay for crypto. And we even have like rent, let's say, for instance, a lot of companies won't accept like a Visa card. Because like right now, and maybe I should do a conscious finance on this, we're showing our students how there's a crypto Visa card where you can take your Bitcoin on the blockchain. Before, you couldn't do this on the blockchain, okay? On the blockchain, you put your money up as collateral. It sits in what's called a smart contract, which says, hey, let's say Joel's been pretty active in here. Joel has put up his Bitcoin as collateral. He can spend against his Bitcoin. All right. But Joel owns the contract. And at any point in time, Joel can pull that Bitcoin out. No problem. But the person who's lending Joel the money makes an interest rate. And that's an individual, not a company. All of us will be able to, and are right now. I've been doing this now for 5 years in DeFi. DeFi started 5 years ago. I was one of the first pioneers into it. All right. But you can now do all of this using decentralized finance, and you don't have to worry about the FTXs or the Celsius or any of these other really bad things that happened in crypto. All of that has been solved, and we're now doing bigger and better and badder things. But there is still a few things you need a bank account for. Not much, but just a few things. So we always recommend, hey, keep your bank account. But the banks are shivering in their boots right now because we're this close from being able to pay your rent on the blockchain. All right. And I think that's really the only thing that we can't pay for, more or less. All right. It's all coming down the pipeline. All right. Now, UBI, Universal Basic Income. All right. And this is how this is where I think the field is going to level. Like I think it was last week, we talked about the revolutions that happened that leveled the playing field. It didn't level it all the way, but there was way more people in the middle class. And that's when historically us as humans thrive the most. All right. And I think it was last week. Last week I talked about it and I was like, unfortunately, we're going to have to claw it out of the rich people's hands again. We're going to have a digital revolution, and it's happening. It's happening with crypto. All right. But we will probably have UBI here very soon, guys and gals. And, depending on what country you live in, like right now, countries still compete for your business. All right. Like, yeah, if you're a resident in Spain and you're rich, you probably don't want to be there more than 183 days out of the year. But if you're a new investor, you can move to Spain and pay no taxes for 10 years right now. Same as Paraguay. All right. Same as many different countries throughout Central and South America. It's just, you don't find out about these things because they don't want you to leave, right? In the US, they're just like, no, you're red, you're red, white, and blue. Don't you leave here. It's a scary world out there. I'll tell you, it's a lot scarier in the United States than anywhere that I've lived in the last 5 or 6 years, including Russia. I've lived in Russia before, okay? It's way scarier in the US right now, unfortunately. All right, maybe select places are not, but I do think in the future, you could have countries that do have UBI that are going to attract some bright people, all right, that are going to attract people who are solving problems, people who are good Like they don't have problems, right? And maybe their way, hey, let's make this person a resident. They get a piece of our UBI, right? That contributes to our economy. All that stuff is coming, all right? UBI is necessary, but not sufficient. It is nowhere near sufficient, all right? Now, in a world where jobs shrinks, the power belongs to those who own assets that produce income, not hours worked, all right? So what will you own in the next economy? And here's what we call the economic flywheel. All right. We've got ownership that pays you dividends, that allows you to reinvest and compound. And then you have growth, right? And this is something that I've been doing now for 5 years. All right. And it's working out pretty darn well. All right. And I'm going to show you here in a little bit some of our students. Now, even the pharaohs stored their wealth, not labor. All right. Even the pharaohs stored their wealth, not their labor. Okay. See, like right now, you're storing your labor. You're wasting your chi on this dream so that one day when you're too old to enjoy your life and your joints are crickety, all right, that's when you want to retire. And maybe some of you are at that age right now, right? And you're like, gosh darn it, I got dealt a hard hand. Okay, I get you, I feel you. I have students who have come to us like that. All right, but let me say this. In the future, all right, in the future, you're gonna be storing your wealth, not your labor. So just like, remember how earlier today I said, if some of these people from the 1900s even came and saw, or 1,000 years ago came and saw how you're living, they would be like, man, they live in an age of abundance right now. They have these things called toilets. They don't need to go outside to the tree stump and, go to the restroom over there. They don't need to hunt for their food. They don't even need to grow their own food. Their food gets grown and brought to them. And now they don't even need to cook it. They have robots that cook it, right? Or they cook for fun. Which, by the way, I love cooking. I actually do cook for fun because I think that like the food that I cook myself, I put the love into it and my body is super healthy, especially after I had cancer. All right. But check this out. All right. This is how you can store your wealth. All right. This is one example. All right. This is what we call a liquidity pool. And I've talked a lot about this. Now, let's say, for instance, I'm going to give you an example right now. I didn't have time to put it into this presentation here. But let's talk about what people used to do, all right, in terms of buying and selling stocks, let's say. So like, in order for me to buy and sell a stock right now, I need to go to my broker, who then goes to an exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, and it buys, or I think either the New York Stock, the NASDAQ or the S&P 500. I can't remember where you buy Apple because I don't buy Apple. But you go there and you pay a fee every time you buy, right? And sometimes you don't. If you have like Robinhood, they pay your fees for you, by the way, so that they can sell your data to somebody else. But nonetheless, they pay your fees. A fee is paid one way or another, right? But every time a trade is made between Apple and dollars and Apple, the NASDAQ or the S&P 500 or the New York Stock Exchange, they take a fee for every trade on all stocks. Imagine they make billions and billions and billions of dollars per year from trillions of dollars in volume. All right. So here on the blockchain, and we've been doing this since 2020. All right. This is what we call a liquidity pool. But instead of Apple and dollars, you can see up here, we have BNB, which is right now, I think it's the third largest crypto in the world, Binance coin, BNB and USD. And every time somebody trades using these two cryptos, I'm making an annualized performance. And this has been going on since January 24th of 2024. an annualized performance of 46.48% per year. That's unheard of. That's unheard of right now, okay? Unless you got lucky in some meme coin and probably you didn't keep all that money. It went back down, all right? You didn't like hold it forever. It wasn't like your retirement, nor would you want to hold any of those. But look at this. This is Chainlink, another crypto that we've talked about on this channel a few years ago back that I'm still really bullish on. Look at this. This investment has gone nothing but up. Why? Because you're the bank. You're the institution now, right? And more, and anybody can invest in this, by the way. This is what I'm talking about, post-labor economics, guys and gals. But let's take a look at this. Look, from January 24th to 2024 to today, if you would have invested $10,000, it'd now be worth $19,000. All right? Now, here, if you would have invested $10,000 from August 3rd of 2023 to now, your investment would now be worth $35,680 from $10,000 in just a little over 2 short years. Imagine that. Now look at this one, Solana. Solana has done really well in annualized performance, meaning year after year, it's been doing 144%. And look at this chart. It's nothing but up and to the right. And this is like verifiable on the blockchain, guys and gals. Like, I'm not doing this in some centralized exchange that they can steal my money. This is on the blockchain, but you need to learn how to use these tools. You need to learn where to go, where to stay away from, where the hottest things are, right? Look at this. $10,000 invested from August 3rd of 2023 to now would be worth $70,200. That's huge. That's huge. All right. Now take a look. These aren't just things that I'm showing you. These are my actual student results. All right. This is one student who started with us back here in 2021. She got in right at the top. All right. She invested $172,000. You can see here. And she invested in some really bad things that we told her not to, but she did it anyways. And she got down here. That 172,000 got down to about 35,000. But we met with her, we turned her around, and look, even with her money going down to $35,000 or 38,000, I can't remember which it was. Look at this. She's now sitting on, this was October 4th that I took this screenshot, on $677,000. Now, what did she do? It wasn't like she just traded her way. Nope. She dollar cost averaged in. Again, this has to do so much with post-labor economics because she's like, I'm seeing that even, and this doctor is this individual is a doctor, all right? She makes good money, but she's like, I see that even my profession is starting to go out. So I want to start, and this is back in 2021, I want to start investing so that I don't need to work so hard, or I only work on the things that I really love to do, right? And look, she's pulled herself out, but she did it by also contributing more and more and more over the years that kept compounding and compounding and compounding. Honestly, if you think you're going to get rich in 1 year, could it happen? Yeah, but it's 1 in 10 million. If you do it that quickly, it's 1 in 10 million. It's not even 1 in a million. It's 1 in 10 million or more. All right. And the odds of you going broke are far greater than the odds of you becoming a millionaire or very, very wealthy. Even if to you, maybe you don't need $1 million to retire. Maybe you only need 500,000. It's not going to happen. The only thing on your side is time and consistency. All right. Even in post-labor economics. And this is why, like, a lot of people with post-labor economics, they're going to come in and they're still going to have the same mentality, right? There's still going to be, unfortunately, winners and losers. They're going to get that UBI and they're going to go like, oh man, I want to live like he does. It's just in our human nature, right? So they're going to go, they're going to gamble the money. Who knows? Maybe we will have like a metaverse by then, and they'll over leverage themselves in a game and they lose all their UBI for the month. you know, oh, well, there goes that. But then there's going to be the smart people who will invest that money. Here's another one that's not so big and grandiose. This student has been investing $100 per month, $100 per month, all right, since October 2nd. And you can see boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, bam, went up, bam, went up, bam, went up. And now he's sitting on $4,441. And the total that he's got here is, what's that? 346% gain up. And it's just a matter of time. If you've read The Psychology of Money, it's a really good book that I highly recommend everybody here read. You just see his chart will start to go exponential if he keeps contributing and he keeps doing, like, in 1 year, 346% up. That's pretty darn good. All right. It doesn't take too many years of that to get to where you want to be at. Look at this. It's another one of our students, Wes. He says, my portfolio has grown from a few $1,000s to $35,000 thanks to intentional investing. Now, he joined here February of 2024. So a little bit over a year. All right. And this is the sort of things that you can do with us, or with becoming part of a group who knows what they're doing, who has experience, and who is looking towards the future, right? Look at this. This is another one of our, this student became an analyst. He's on here with me tonight, Dwayne. All right. Dwayne is an awesome guy. Oh, shoot. But Dwayne, you can see here, this is, he joined in November of 2023. All right. This has been from April 16th until July 9th. His portfolio went from $177 to $248,000. All right. And you can see here some of his liquidity pools earning him 10K plus per month. And by the way, liquidity pools are like these. Okay. Like these things. All right. Him becoming the NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, etc. All right. So in this new era, your path to financial empowerment lies in what you own, not just what you do. All right. And so the end of labor is not the end of prosperity. It's the beginning for those who prepare and educate themselves. And by the way, I want to throw up the link. If you want to learn this stuff, if you want to become a part of a community that didn't just pop up overnight, that's been here since 2018. All right. We've been teaching since 2018. We're not some of these posers that just got out here and made a couple of fast dollars. All right. We've been doing this for a long time. We've lost, we've won, we've learned. We know now what works. All right. We have the plan that clearly shows exactly how to do this. And clearly we have way more testimonials, but I don't want to bore you guys. Click on that link, sign up. It's $147 a month. You can cancel anytime. That's less than like a couple of times a family goes to Burger King, which you shouldn't be eating that garbage anyways. And at least this is going to make you some money. All right. But this is what I'm talking about, guys. This post-labor economics, it's coming. And it's coming faster than you think. All right. This isn't a hoax. This isn't me trying to scare you into something. It is coming. And I do think that we'll have prosperity. There's always going to be opportunities. There's always going to be opportunities. I do think that. All right. There's always going to be advantages. There's always going to be a way for us to, exploit the system and make a little bit more. But getting in earlier, look at, Warren Buffett started investing in his teens or something like that. Or when he was like 11, he was a millionaire by the time he was age 30. $1 million he had. All right. That's the equivalent of like $9 million today. He didn't become a billionaire though until he was in his like late 50s. All right. No, I take that back. Until he was in his 60s. So it's compound. It's consistency, guys and gals. And can we get you there quick? You bet. You just saw some examples. But it's going to require you learning this new skill, this new system, decentralized finance incorporated with AI. That's where it's at. That's where we're going to be, you know, the next people who will be able to maybe take charge and make the world a better place. I trust the people from 4BK way more than I trust the people that have been running the world here. And maybe, just maybe, we're going to even the scales out like I talked about last week and get more of that middle class going. I do believe that. I really do. So guys, gals, hit that. If you guys like this content, hit that like button. Do me a favor, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, because that keeps bringing more and more people. And these are really, really important things. If you think that this is important, let's drive more people, drive more traffic to this, because more people need to become aware of this. Anyways, that's all I got. That's all I got. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but Dwayne, did anybody post up any questions here? I'm going to take a quick drink.
Yeah, we have a few. We have a few. Let's see. We have one from Rebecca. Rebecca Alfarcruz says, "How many ARC vaults are there?"
Well, you know, right now we're only talking about 4. We've had a lot of them that we didn't put too much money into them, but they're not performing as well as we wanted to. But we have about 4 right now that we've identified as the winners. So we've got 4, and we have many more coming down the pipeline very soon. Within the next couple of months, we probably will have another 6 to 8 based on my count. So where you're going to have lots of opportunities to be in these.
Bless.
Yeah.
We have one from five Danady says, "I'm a Sam, but what can we afford? But we cannot afford that anymore. I have no idea what to do. I'm hoping you can help me reset my skills for a lucrative source of income."
Yeah, so let me give you the biggest resource. Like, if you're in that position, and you know, we've had a lot of people come to us and tell us this story. All right, what was this person's name? Dwayne?
This person was Fidenity.
Fidenity. Okay,
Fidenity.
so Fidenity, you look, we've had a lot of students come with that same story, and I'm not diminishing your story, because everybody has a story, and your story is really real to you and really painful, okay? Because you're like, man, how am I going to ever get ahead? Let me say this. There are options. All right? There are options. There have been times in history where it's been way harder to get along than today, but it's going to require a big shift. For people or students of mine who come to me and ask me that question, like, how do I have a reset? I recommend them a book, 2 books actually. All right. I recommend them Your Money or Your Life. All right. Which tells you piece by piece how you can set up your life to get back in control of your finances in the worst of scenarios, by the way. All right. In the worst of scenarios. That book will help you. And then also The Millionaire Next Door. You can afford 2 books. That you can afford. And you can afford a little bit of time to read those books. But that's where I would start. All right. Second to starting there, if you can sign up with our course for $147. We show you step by step how to do things that are in that book so that you can start dollar cost averaging into crypto. Like, we're not about those meme coins and all, you know, those bad NFTs, all that stuff. This is a real thing for us. Like, this is the future of finance. So we've been helping people like way getting away from that lack. And sometimes it means digging deep into yourself. Sometimes it means moving to another place and saving a couple $1,000s per month and thinking differently. But we've had so many people that have made these changes, and maybe I'll throw up some testimonials from those types of changes, because we have a lot of people who have made those changes in the past. And we even have the tools to help you do that. We have a FIRE tool that helps you monitor all of your expenses. Are you headed in the right direction? Are you headed in the wrong direction? Helps you monitor all of the things that you own, all of the things that you invest in. Because believe it or not, you have things that you own right now you probably could sell. I do it. I clean house. My wife is so good at it. But we start selling stuff we don't need all the time. Our business sells stuff we don't need all the time. We are frugal. Frugal used to be a bad word. It's actually a good word for me now. Frugal, the ancient Greeks, the term came from the ancient Greeks, and it meant resourceful. We could use a lot more resourceful people in the world nowadays, especially, the things we're doing to the environment. And, whether or not global warming is real, I don't know, who knows? But I can tell you this, the environment's way dirtier, and we don't need to be cutting down so many trees. We don't need to be doing all of these things. We can still take care of our home and become more resourceful. So these are some of the things that I would do. But again, if you want a heads up, then you can do that. Melanated Nomad. Yeah, so you're in the higher course. We start at 147. So you've got like the VIP treatment, Melanated. You got the VIP treatment. You got a whole bunch more. You got NFT, you got that's worth something. You got some managed vault tokens, all that stuff. So and you have access to me on Wednesday as well. So anyways, Dwayne, anything else?
That was actually going to be the next question from Steven. Was there different tiers for your packages for the ARC?
Yeah, we do have different tiers. Some of them just give you more access within our ecosystem. We by the way, we built our own app. We don't run on another app. We've built our own app where we communicate, where we have all of our courses, all of our recordings, all that stuff. And people love it. We put all the news in there, any wins, successes. Some of those portfolio screenshots were from we have a chat where we share our wins and successes, right? And right now, we have a guarantee, all right? We have a guarantee. We believe strongly in you understanding where you sit in your risk assessment. So we've built this risk assessment using AI. It's really cool. So you can see man, how do I invest into crypto? See, a lot of people, they come in and they go so deep into the risk curve that it scares the heck out of them because they put in $10,000 and they lose it all. And we're like, no, don't start there. Start slow. So our guarantee is if you take our risk assessment and you're able to position your portfolio and you dollar cost average in month after month, okay, consistently, and if your portfolio is not up by then, at least at break even or higher, okay, I personally work with you until it is, all right, in a small group setting. So I personally work with you until it is. And that's for anybody that's in our group. But we do have access where you get one-on-one coaching. You get access to more managed vaults, more managed investments. You get access to multiple different things that you wouldn't in the higher tiers, okay? But we wanted to make it fair for everybody. So 147, it does give you signals, all right? So it's real simple. You get on a Telegram chat, it tells you what we're buying, when we're selling, right there in real time. And you can make those buys and sells yourself. And that's on stocks as well. So we have some really, really cool stuff where people are making some very, very good money right now. And they're diversified though. They're among multiple different investments. And, I'm going to keep showing you guys the wins. This is just a fraction of the wins, a small fraction of the wins. Dwayne, anything else?
The last one from Ashley says, is there a way, well, she don't know anything about crypto. So she want to know if there's a there's a start for, uh, she used the word dummies, but for the ones who don't know anything about crypto.
Yeah. So let me say this. Okay. I have, by the way, hold on. Congratulations. I think somebody just joined here. 1 second. I want to call him out. I think it was Dario. Dario, congratulations. Congratulations for joining yearly. He's on the yearly band. You get a discount if you join for a year, by the way. Like the whole year, you pay the whole year. I can't remember how much the discount is, but it's a lot. I think it's like, I don't know how much. Anyways, yeah. So Ashley, that is a great question. We've had students who barely knew how to operate a computer in their early 80s, to people who were advanced in crypto. And actually, we're working in that risk assessment. We're actually working on including an experience assessment to where we can guide you through. Usually we start everybody at the same, okay? And some people may just like flip through, but we'll be able to guide you through where you start if you're just starting with 0 experience, or if you're starting with, level 10 experience. So there's room for everybody here. There's room for every single person here. There's no man or woman will be left behind. And that's the way we've operated. In fact, the majority of our students who come have either very little experience in crypto or none whatsoever. So you're in the right place if this is what you're looking for. That's it. Anything else, Dwayne?
Yep, that concludes the questions.
All right, man.
No, sir, that concludes all the questions.
All right, cool. Everybody,
God bless.
thank you for taking the time to be here with us tonight. Lots of love. We'll see you next week in another Conscious Finance. All right, cheers.